Hey, welcome everyone to another one of our heart-powered speaking community session calls. And we have an amazing agenda for you today, an amazing guest. You'll walk away energized, inspired. Okay, so again, what we're gonna do is, and I get recording invites here, so that's AI tools playing with us as always. Okay, so give me a second. Okay, let me get rid of that. Great. So welcome everyone. So I know we have a couple of first timers with us today, and we have a couple of people that have been with us on for quite a long time, like Christiane for I don't know how many years. So welcome back or welcome first timers. Everyone that is with us for the first time, let me just introduce myself a little bit. Again, first of all, I'm Monique Bloxel, the founder of Heart Powered Business. Our mantra is speak up, scale up, impact the world. We've over the years helped thousands of clients from more than 50 countries to go professional with their speaking, use the power of their voice in a more powerful way, boost their reputation, their visibility, their client attraction power, and this way double, triple, even quadruple, even more over the years, their income with our Voice to Millions framework. I myself have been a paid speaker for more than 20 years. I've been on stages in more than 30 countries on 5 continents already. But here's the thing, this session is not about me. It's all about you, amazing speakers having powerful messages that the world needs to hear more than ever. Okay. And here's the thing, if you are serious about speaking, we are launching very soon, and I know quite a few that are here with us today have already signed up to it. We will launch again our 3-month professional speaker launch program, where we guide you step by step through our 8-step activator for you to go professional with your speaking, figuring out, what makes your message stand out, sharpening that, helping you get clear on who is the best audience, helping you craft a speech that makes an impact in sales, helping you go get booked more, get paid more as a speaker. And as you do that and you're on that 3 month journey with us, it always elevates your client attraction, your income, your business in so many amazing ways. Okay, so if you have any interest in that, I know I have Brenda with us today. Brenda, if you could share that link of our Pro Speaker Launch program with everyone, check it out. If you have any questions around it, let us know. Okay, so our next team is going to get going in 2 weeks, okay, on the 3rd of November. So again, it's only 2 weeks left. Then we close the doors, and then for this year, we are on the run. Okay, so if there's any questions on that, let us know. If you want to arrange a time with me, just also Brenda, if you could share the my calendar link with people. I know I'm gonna be very booked in October and November. I'm gonna be out there myself a lot. So, but if you want to arrange a time with me or one of our team members, let us know. Okay, if you don't find anything in the calendar, just drop us a quick message, a quick direct chat message, and we're going to make that happen. But again, as I said, today's session is not about me, it's all about you and about our precious guests that will really inspire you today, okay, to get really practical hints and tips that you can apply in your speaking with you, in your business right away. You'll get a chance to ask your own personal questions today on the session today. We will open the space, in the last 10-15 minutes of our call today. So whenever you have a question, put it into the chat already. We will keep an eye on it and we make sure we get them answered. And also, you're here to exchange with other professional speakers from around the globe. We normally span the globe. So, I love our, from the States, all over Europe, up to Asia and other places. So, also you're here to get help and support from others on your high priority projects as well, right? So again, just a quick reminders. Okay, ask your questions anytime, but put them into the chat. We'll answer them at the end of our session today. Make sure you mute it when you're not speaking so that we have the sparkling.
Just to prove the point, you muted yourself, Monique.
Yes, I think so.
I didn't even touch a button. I don't know who muted me here, but okay. Well,
Yeah, not me also. Yeah.
some beautiful spirit must have been at play here. Okay, thank you for letting me know. If anything like that happens, let me know.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can all hear me again, yes?
Yes.
What was the last thing you heard? I might repeat one or two sentences. What was the last thing that you heard? So I can tell you what was the last thing I said, which was all about starting to introduce our session and the topic of our session today. Yes? Okay. You heard me say that ask your questions anytime. Yes. Can I see a nodding there? Put them into the chat. We'll answer
Yes.
them at the end of the session. Yeah. Perfect. Okay. Great. Also, when you're not speaking, mute yourselves and keep your video on. We love to see you. We love to interact with you. We love to play with you. Is that good? Yeah. And if you ask a question at the end, we might bring you in. There might be a little bit of a recording. Hey, that's your moment of fame on this call today. Also, okay. You're all speakers. I know you love being heard and seen as well. Good. Let me introduce our concrete session today. We have an amazing lady. Okay, she came highly recommended as well from a friend of mine. I had a beautiful conversation with her, and I thought your topic is what a lot of people need to hear. And she is the queen on selling from the heart. For all of those among you who love to serve but hate the hard sell. Okay, now picture this: you've landed a speaking opportunity, you've delivered your speech with passion and purpose to your ideal audience, and now comes this crucial moment. You want to make your call to action. You want to invite them to take the next step, and ideally the next step with you. Do you know how to do that in a way that it feels natural and authentic to you? I've seen so many speakers on stage at the moment when they want to make an offer, the moment when they want to get their audience into an action, either they freeze or they start sounding unnatural or right, not authentic, or they jump in the aggressive. All of that stuff we don't want for you. We want you to make an offer in a way that feels natural and authentic. Okay. So, are you one of those? Or do you still sometimes feel like you're holding back, or you're worried about sounding pushy or salesy? If that's you, you're great on this call at the moment, right? Because here's the truth: if you can't confidently guide your audience toward working with you, they will miss out on that transformation that you bring them. And all your efforts as a speaker to connect, inspire, and lead as a speaker, they all fall flat. That's why today's session is so powerful and so important. So, our guest, who is she? Her name is Catherine Watkin. She's the UK's leading expert when it comes to heart centered sales. And she's also the founder of Selling from the Heart. Guess what? Our business called Heart Powered Business. We had to have her, right? After more than 20 years in the sales world, Catherine, became the antidote to traditional closing and manipulation sales methods. And today she's showing coaches, speakers, and entrepreneurs how to enroll clients in a way that's really authentic, that's value driven, and that builds deeper connections. She also helps people who are here to make a difference, those who love to serve but hate the hard sell, to grow thriving businesses while staying fully in integrity. Okay, so in this session today, Catherine will show you how to turn genuine connection into committed clients without scripts, without pressure, without gimmicks. Catherine, welcome. It's amazing to have you with us today.
Oh, thank you for such a warm welcome.
Over to you.
Hello, everybody. So yeah, welcome. I mean, Monique, you know the topic so well. You've already touched on so much that I'm going to mention as well today. So we're obviously really aligned on this session. And yes, as Monique says, I'm all about selling from the heart. So it's about how to sell and invite people to take action, but without using manipulative techniques that feel uncomfortable for us and actually can be very off-putting for our clients as well. But it's not about soft and fluffy. It's still about things that work. So it's about how do we sell effectively, but do it in ways that actually feel good for us and good for our clients. And I actually believe that a lot of this approach to sales is more effective than traditional sales techniques when we're working in difference making businesses, when we're taking our clients on transformational journeys. It's not just, hey, buy this thing and then I'm never going to see you again. We need a different style of sales for that. So I have got some slides here. Just takes me 1 second to get them up on the screen. And I want to make sure that I can see the chat. I'm going to take questions at the end, but I want to make sure that I can see the chat as we're going along. So selling from the heart for people who love to serve but hate the hard sell. And I'm going to be introducing my approach to heart-centered sales. But because Monique is teaching you how to grow a business from speaking, I'm tailoring it to fit with that as well. So whether you are currently speaking as part of your business, or even if you're not doing that yet, what I teach here is going to be relevant regardless. So let's get into it. So, as Monique said in her introduction, you have gained the speaking opportunity. You have delivered your talk to your perfect audience. But what happens next? Are you confident inviting them to take the next step towards working with you? Or do you hold back because you don't want to seem pushy or salesy? Or because you don't want to use sales techniques that just don't feel like you? Or maybe you do have a confident invitation, but not enough people are taking you up on it. And if you don't have a sales process that confidently guides people to a decision, they miss out on getting your help and all the effort that you have put in to both securing and then delivering that speaking opportunity is wasted. So, very quick bit about me. I know we've already had a lovely introduction. I'm an expert in authentic and heart-centered sales. I had a 20-year career in sales before I started my own business selling from the heart. I have been doing this for 14 years, and I actually grew my own business through speaking, particularly in the first few years. For about the last 8 years or so, I've been pretty much fully online, but I grew my business through speaking. Interestingly, I only got paid to speak directly a couple of times. But what I've always done is I've always used my speaking opportunities as a way to generate income by actually generating clients from those sessions. So either which way I get paid, but typically I've got paid by selling from speaking directly as opposed to getting paid for the actual speaking opportunity itself. So here's what we're going to look at today. Oh, can anyone else see that red stuff on the screen, or is that just me?
I can see that as well. So whoever is being creative here,
Yeah, what is happening? Yeah.
that is really strange. Okay, so anyone, if that continues, we need to close the room because that is really nasty. Then we need to close the room and we only let people in that we know personally. Okay.
Yeah.
So, okay. So, can you stop sharing the screen and then start sharing again? Let's see. Okay, if that doesn't.
Oh, of course, I should have done that straight away. I just froze. My apologies.
Yeah.
That's okay. Okay, anyone, friends, I apologize for that. It's never ever happened to us in this way.
Yeah.
What we're gonna do is, as I said, if that does continue this way, we're gonna close the room and we only let people in we know and we trust. Is that okay? Yeah. So,
Yeah.
Catherine, can you share your screen again and see what happens?
This has never happened to me before. I've never seen anything like that happen either. So, whoa, let's put the slide back up. There we go. That's sorted it out. Play from slide. Okay, so here we go. So here's what we're going to be covering: how to turn your speaking opportunities into sales. We're going to look at let go of the hard sell, why traditional closing tech. Okay.
So that's quite interesting here what's happening. So apologies from our side. That has never happened to us in any session before.
Yes.
So what we'll do is we will, in fact,
Might come from the note taker.
is there, okay, let us
Note
see.
taker.
Okay, But the interesting thing is there is no note taker in the room, Susanne.
Yeah, but you record, and that's a note taker, isn't it?
Uh,
It's a
well,
note taker
we are
software.
not having actually a note taker in our room. Okay.
Yeah.
So what we'll do is apologies from our side, but again, we live with whatever happens. Okay. Danya?
What about doing without presentation, Catherine?
Yeah, absolutely.
There's also an option. Yes, great
Yeah.
suggestion. Why don't we go with that, Catherine? Okay, so again, we don't have a note taker on at all. We only have a recorder on. See how we go, but we're gonna keep an eye on here, and what we're gonna do is, if any further disturbance happens, we're gonna take everyone out of this call that we don't know. We just need to keep the integrity of everyone else here, and we want everyone else to feel safe. Is that good? Yeah.
Monique, Federico is here now, but we know him, so I take him in.
Of
Yeah.
course. Yeah, we know
Yeah.
Federico. Okay.
Okay.
So again, apologies from our side. This is today's world. There's a lot of love and there's a lot of the opposite. Okay, people treat each other with respect or they don't. So you all being leaders and speakers, we all manage the space. That's our job. Besides sharing our message. So again, apologies for everyone to experience this right here, right now. As Catherine is saying, it never happened to you, never happened to us. Again, the more you grow, you attract people that appreciate you and you attract the other side as well. Okay. One more disturbance, and apologies to everyone that's here with us for the first time if we don't know you. Okay, we need to take you out because, again, we need to have a space here that we trust. And let's hope it doesn't continue that way. Over to you, Catherine.
Okay, shall I just continue without the slides? Do you think that's the best?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, so we're going to look at how to turn your speaking opportunities into sales, letting go of the hard sell, and why traditional closing techniques backfire. I'm going to talk about how you invite people to the next step in a way that actually has them wanting to take it. We're going to look at the 7-step CS framework for confident, heart-centered sales conversations and also touch on the importance of safety in sales. So the first thing I want to talk about is, well, what's wrong with traditional sales? I say I'm the antidote to closing techniques and objection handling techniques. So what's wrong with traditional sales for those of us who are in difference-making businesses? Well, a lot of the focus of traditional sales, things like closing techniques, objection handling techniques, other manipulative techniques, they are designed to get the client to say yes to your offer at all costs. They're very much focused on the agenda of the person who is doing the selling, as opposed to what's best for the client. And these techniques, unless they are used highly, highly skillfully, and most people haven't gone into business to be professional salespeople and to operate in sales at that level, they can actually create a lack of trust. And it doesn't create the sort of deep commitment and connection that needs to be in place if they're going to go on and join your program and do the deeper work with you and have that deeper journey with you. So I teach an approach that I call heart-centered sales. And this is not focused on how do I get a yes at all costs? How do I get this person to say yes because it suits my agenda today? It's much more focused on what is in the best interest of this person in front of me right now, this potential client. It has a focus on communicating the value as opposed to closing, because as I see it, is if you can take your client through a well-structured sales process, and you can really get to know them and understand where they're at, what their challenges are, what it is that they want more than anything. And you then are able to communicate to them very clearly why your offer is the solution for all the things that they've just been telling you. You don't need closing techniques because your client will get what I call the internal yes. And this is where the feeling of, yes, I think I want to do this, it's rising from inside the client. And if you've created a feeling of internal yes in the client, Yes, there might still be worries. Yes, there might still be concerns, fear of making a bad investment, fear of change. But ultimately, if the internal yes is there, it's a very different conversation. And you don't have to force your yes on the client from the outside, which is what is happening so often in sales situations. So this approach also recognizes that concerns are natural. And one of the things that I talk about a lot when it comes to heart-centered sales is what I call the energy and intention of sales. So what's the energy that you as the business owner are bringing to your sales process and your sales conversations? What's the intention behind your actions when you invite someone to take a next step? When you ask them if they're going to go ahead and work with you, at each step of that sales process, what's your intention that you're bringing? Because those two things make a huge difference to your client, because sales isn't something that you do to people. It's how you help your clients make the decisions that serve them best. And if you believe in what you offer, to avoid selling because it doesn't feel comfortable or you don't want to be pushy and self-serving is actually doing your client a disservice. But it's that problem, the word selling. We have so many connotations and ideas about what that means when we talk about selling. And actually, selling is a very neutral term. I would say selling is a neutral term, like driving is a neutral term, and parenting is a neutral term. We can be good drivers or bad drivers. We can be good parents or bad parents. We can sell in a sleazy, manipulative way, or we can sell in a very connected, serving way. And so when it comes to the energy and intention of sales, you could be saying the exact same thing at any one point in your sales process, but your potential client or your audience, when you're speaking, will feel the energy behind that. So if it's an invitation, if it's a challenge, if it's a curiosity question, if it's a wanting to dig deeper into a concern they've got, your client or your audience will feel that energy. And so this is about you approaching your sales situations from a place of service, like deep service, being in service to that potential client. And it's also about non-attachment to the outcome, not being attached in the moment of the sales conversation to whether or not that one person says yes to you or not. Now, of course, we have to be attached to making sales in our business. We have to be attached to bringing in a certain level of revenue every single month. Otherwise, we don't have a business or we're not making the profit that we want. But we can separate the focus on these are the targets I want to hit this month from the need to squeeze that money out of any one individual person that we're talking to. So it's about how can we be non-attached in the moment of the conversation? How can we leave at the door the fact that when this client says, yes, I'm going to benefit financially, and instead have a very energetically clean conversation with that person that's coming purely from a place of, so when I'm in a sales conversation with a client, I'm purely coming from a place of what is the best thing for them. Now, eventually, at some point in that conversation, something clicks for me inside, and I realize that they absolutely do need some help and that I would be a really great person to help them. And I have conviction in that. And that's when I will clearly communicate how I feel I can help, how I think they'll benefit, and make a clear invitation to make a decision. But what I'm not doing is panicking partway through because, oh my gosh, are they going to say yes or not? Because there's nothing we can do that will make somebody buy from us. But what we can do is guide somebody through that decision-making process so that they reach their own decision about what's best for them. And our responsibility as business owners is to do that really well. To not be like, oh, well, let me tell you a little about it and then go away and think about it. You know where I am when you need to come back. It's still holding like a strong boundary on the conversation and knowing that the focus of the conversation is to bring them to a decision, but only if it's right for them. So there's this balance between the focus on the end result, which is helping them reach that decision, and the sort of non-attachment in the energy because the client picks up on that. And it doesn't feel good for us either. So coming from that, I want to talk about turning speaking into sales. So there are sort of three key ways that come to mind for me about how can we turn speaking into sales. The first is what I actually did to grow my business in the first few years. And this is to invite and inspire people to buy from you there and then from the stage at your talk. Now, it does require a higher level of skill in crafting and presenting the content and inspiring people to take action in the moment. And it does require a very effective and irresistible offer, a very well-crafted offer that's designed to get people to take action. And this isn't the piece that I'm covering today, because I know that Monique has taught you that how to actually structure your talk to sell in other places. The other thing with selling from the stage is that conversions are higher at higher price points. So if you're selling more high ticket priced one-to-one, it takes a higher level of skill to be able to sell that effectively from the stage, which is great if you've developed and honed that particular skill. But if you're newer to speaking, you may not yet have honed that skill, and it might feel a little risky to put all your eggs in that one basket. The other thing is that not all speaker hosts will agree for you to sell directly. Sometimes they will, but often they won't. So you can't always fall back on actually directly selling from the stage. So the other way that you can turn speaking into sales is to use the sales opportunity to generate one-to-one sales conversations, so that you walk away from that speaking opportunity with your diary full of sales calls for the week coming. So you're bringing them into a more intimate conversation. You're giving them an experience of being in your container, being with you in that bubble, just the two of you, getting a sense of how it is, the sorts of things you're going to be talking about. It also enables you to more accurately match your offer to what that individual person wants and needs. This is why selling from the stage, when you're calling people to action as a larger group, requires a different level of skill, because you've got a lot of different people in the room and you've got to hit the points for all of them. And whereas when you're just talking to one person, you only really need to understand and hit the key points for that one individual. So it's easier to tailor that conversation to that one person. The third way to turn speaking into sales, which isn't directly turning into sales, but it's to invite them to sign up for something of value for free. So always offer some sort of a free giveaway in return for email address. A lot of people call this a lead magnet. And I would recommend you always do this when you're speaking, because otherwise you've wasted that opportunity, because not everybody is going to be ready to buy from you. Whether you're making the offer on the stage and it's buy now today, or you're saying, book in to speak with me, I've got some availability to have conversations in the next week. Not everybody, only a smaller proportion of your audience is ever going to be ready to take that action at that time. But if you can invite people to sign up for something to get on your mailing list, then you are able to reach them, communicate with them, and invite them to buy from you at any time. And some people will be just not yet. They won't be today, but if you keep in contact with them, they will buy from you at a later date. So what I'm going to talk about today is focused on how you invite somebody from that speaking opportunity into your one-to-one sales conversation. But the principles I'm about to talk about apply equally in any situation where you are inviting somebody into your sales conversation. So you can apply the same principles if you're networking, you can apply it if you're marketing on social media. It's more about the process of obviously if you're speaking, you've got a captive audience, you've just inspired them, you've taught them, they've got a real flavor of your style, you've been with them for maybe 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour already. So they're already warmed up and inspired and ready to take the next step in a way that someone who sees a post on social media isn't going to be. But these same principles apply however you're reaching people. So step one is to invite them to a next step. So confidently invite your audience to take the next step with you beyond that talk, and tell them exactly what that step is and how it's going to benefit them. Because this is where a lot of people go wrong. They don't make that invitation clear enough. Tell them exactly what it is they need to do if they want to book to take that next step, or exactly what they need to do to take the next step, and include any limiters. So if, for example, you are offering a free call of some sort and you've made 10 places available in your diary that week, tell them there are 10 places available. If it's this week only, tell them it's this week only. If you normally charge for this session, if you normally charge €250 for this session and you're discounting it or you're making it free, tell them. So include any limiters like that. And then step 2 is, and this is really important, the next step must be compelling to your ideal client. It's not enough to make a clear call to action. I'm offering this thing. This is how you book it. Your audience has to want to take that action. And this is the piece that is often missing when people are calling to action. So what's wrong with saying, I'm offering a free discovery session for everyone who's here today, or if you'd like to take this further, book a call to speak to me. The problem with that is it sounds very casual, and it's not clear what's in it for them. And it can create a resistance to taking action because your audience member knows that when they book that call, it's going to be a sales conversation. And they might not be ready to take that step yet. Now, sometimes when you're speaking, you will have just made an offer. So sometimes you will make an offer, but instead of buy now, it's here's my offer, and here's the special offer for you today. And if you'd like to explore whether it's right for you, here's how you take the next step to do that. And then you book them into a one-to-one call. Or it might be, here's the offer, and if you would like to, and you can apply now. So here's how you can apply. Again, it's great to do that. There's nothing wrong with that at all. But again, the disadvantage is it's increasing the resistance with your audience because every person is thinking, oh, do I want to take the offer? Do I not? If I book the call, she's going to be expecting me to buy this thing and I'm not sure if it's right for me. And actually, what we want is if a potential client is having a conversation in their head that goes, I think I might be interested, but I'm not 100% sure. I don't know if it's right for me or not. I'd better wait until I am sure before I book the call. What we really want to happen in that situation is we want them on the call because they're not going to get any more clear about whether it's right for them or not by just going home. The only way they're going to get clearer is by coming and having that one-to-one conversation with you. So what I support a lot of my clients to do, and like I said, there's no right or wrong, they're just alternative strategies. You know, you've got make an offer and sell from the stage there and then. You've got make an offer and invite them to apply or book a call. And then you've got what I'm talking about now, which is invite them to take a next step that in its own right sounds like something they want to do. And what this will do is it will give you a much larger number of calls booked into your diary, which gives you a much higher chance of converting them. So because the next step has to be attractive in its own right, I teach something that I call a high value free session. So this is not a straight sales conversation and it's not a discovery session. It's a call that is of value to your potential client in and of its own right. And a high value free session that works well has a name. It usually has a unique, catchy name. It's not just a discovery session. It will have a name that makes it sound like something genuinely useful to them. It has a promise that sounds tangible and genuinely valuable so that when you describe it, your audience member thinks, wow, that sounds amazing. I really need that. You know, regardless of what happens beyond that, that sounds really valuable in its own right. I would like to do it. You need to make sure that that promise that is tangible and valuable is something that you can deliver on in the time that you've allowed. and that leads naturally into the next step of working with you. So you need to be able to make it sound tangible and valuable. You need to be able to deliver on that promise in the time that you've allowed for the session. And it needs to very naturally lead into the next step of working with you. I'm going to give you some examples of how that can happen. So first of all, I'm going to start by giving you an example of what I would do if I was to offer these in my business. So if I was going speaking, and I'm going to give a business example. I don't know why I've chosen a business example instead of a sales example, but I'm going to choose a general business example. And I might say, I'm offering 12 free business clarity sessions to those of you that are here in the audience today. In this 45-minute session, I'm going to help you to identify the single biggest reason your business isn't working as well as you would like, and you will leave with a clear next step to focus on. Can you see I've given it a title that hopefully sounds like something that sounds useful? Business clarity session. I've told them what's going to happen. I'm going to help you identify the single biggest reason your business isn't working, and you're going to leave with a clear next step. So do you see how there's value inherent in that session, regardless of whether they go on and do further work with you? And then I might say, I've got made 12 of these available in the next week, and this is exactly what you need to do to book in for that session. Now, how these work very well for a lot of my clients is if the high value free session is actually the diagnosis. Doesn't always work this way, but it can work really well, because if the high value free session basically is the diagnosis, I'm going to help you figure out, one of my clients is an EFT tapping practitioner, and she uses her high value free session to help them to identify the specific subconscious blocks that are holding people back in business. So it's like a diagnosis. I'm helping somebody to identify what the biggest reason is that their business isn't working. And then the actual solution, the medicine, if you like, becomes your offer. So there's a very natural flow from this session is valuable. I'm going to diagnose this problem for you. And then during that session, you then offer the solution, and the solution becomes the offer to work with you further. So they lead into each other very well. So step 3 then of that process is, of course, now you've got them to take action from speaking and they are booked into your calendar. The next piece is that you need to be able to lead an effective sales conversation with a clear structure to help you feel in control. And also that structure helps your client to feel safe in the interaction, because they have a sense that you know what you're doing, you're guiding the conversation, you know what questions to ask. And this also supports you in your positioning as a credible expert or professional, because of course, if you're a credible expert and you believe in yourself and you have conviction in your offers, of course, you're going to be confident in your sales conversations. You're going to be confident talking about pricing. You're going to be confident inviting people to take the next step. So I'm going to run you through the structure, my 7 steps to yes structure for a heart-centered sales conversation. I'm going to just do it really high level just because of time, but I do have this available as a video training, and it's 21 minutes is all it takes to watch it, but you'll get what I'm about to run through in more depth and more detail. And I know that Brenda's got the link to that, so we'll share the link, but it's at catherinewatkin.com/7 steps. It's on my slide that none of you can see because of the naughty person writing on the slides earlier on. So we'll share that link with you later on. So 7 steps to yes, heart-centered sales framework. Step 1, you set the scene. This is a short step that sets you up as the guide who's leading the conversation, that establishes permission for you to make your offer later, and also creates safety for your potential client. Because when you offer that high value free session, You need to be upfront when the client arrives because you don't want to create any unnecessary friction. So as part of Set the Scene, you are going to let them know that if you feel that you can help them beyond the call today, that you will be letting them know that before the end, and you will be making an invitation or a recommendation to do further work with you. Step 2 is called Open Up. This is a step that is not about probing deeply or being challenging. This step exists purely in order to build trust and safety with that client and have them feel ready to open up to you in that conversation. Then we have step number 3, explore problem. And this step is where we start to go deeper. You've established the trust. You've established that the client is comfortable opening up to you. And this is where you're going to encourage the client to focus on what's really going on for them and the impact that it is having for them. Step 4 is test commitment. This is where you literally ask one question to take the temperature of where they are at. Because if you get a sense at this stage of the level of commitment they have to making this change or to doing this work, it really helps you later on in the sales process because you have some sense of where they're at. Step 5 is compelling future. So this is asking questions to help the client connect with a vision of how things could be for them instead. Because people don't only sign up for transformational work because they've got a problem or a challenge. There needs to be more than that. They have to believe in an alternative future. They have to be able to see, feel, imagine a future possibility that's different than it is today. So if your sales process only takes people into the problem and it doesn't help them to tap into how things could be instead, it's very hard to encourage that person to make that commitment to doing the work. Step 6 is called present solution, and this is the one. So up until now, first 5 steps, you as the business owner have been asking questions and listening. And you have been guiding your client on what may be quite an emotional journey for them through their challenges, struggles, problems, worries, fears, what they've done before, how it's affecting other areas of their life, and how they would love things to be instead, and that vision of the future when things are different. Step 6, present the solution, is where it switches, and now you're going to do more of the talking. And this is where you'll segue, and you'll actually introduce how you're going to help them, and you'll introduce your offer. You'll talk it through in terms of its value, its benefits. You'll communicate that really clearly to the client. You'll let them know what the investment is. And then step 7 is ask for a decision. And the aim at this step is to get a yes or a no by the end of the conversation. I always say your aim is to get a yes or no by the end of the conversation. And the reason I say that is because what we want you to be doing is to be staying focused on the fact that you're not in this conversation to make a new friend or hang out and have fun or have a nice connected conversation. You are here for a business purpose, and you are here for a sales purpose. So what you're aiming to do as far as possible is help that potential client come to a decision. But it's an aim. It's not you are going to force this poor person to make a decision, because they might not be ready to. So when you ask them to make a decision, they might say yes. They might say, I don't know, I think I need to go away and think about it. They might say, oh, I don't know, I can't afford it at the moment. What they probably won't say in most polite cultures, certainly in the UK, what you won't hear very often is no, thank you. We don't hear that very often in our sales conversations. We will hear something else instead. But the aim is to bring them to a decision. And then with that aim in mind, the conversation will go where it needs to go to, whether you end up with a yes or a follow-up call booked in, or releasing that client energetically because it's obviously not going to come together. So the final piece to talk about is just to make some reference to what I call safety in sales, which is not something that I've ever heard talked about in traditional sales, but it is so key I want to say it's so key to a heart-centered sales process, but it really should be so key to any sales process. Your client needs to feel safe throughout your sales process, that at every step they can say yes to that next step, because they feel safe that you are not going to be pushing them into anything or making them feel awkward or uncomfortable or bad about themselves, or even traumatizing them or bullying them, which sound like strong words, but I've certainly experienced that myself in sales situations. So your client needs to feel safe that you're not going to be pushing them into anything. Because without that sense of safety built in, your potential client will avoid entering into that sales conversation. So you want to make it really open and safe, almost like, you can relax, your nervous system is safe, come into this conversation. And they need to feel safe, not just at each stage to enter into the next step, but they need to feel safe to actually open up in the sales conversation itself and communicate with you what's really going on for them. Because if your client isn't willing to open up, how can you dig in deep enough to really get a sense of how you can help? How can you really help them overcome any fears or concerns or resistance when they've got the internal yes, but there's also something else getting in the way? So how do you create safety in the sales situation? Well, the first way you do it is to always make it clear that at every stage of that process, it's okay with you if they decide to say no. So they can come and they can book in for that high value free session, and there's no obligation because this is part of your business and you love to offer them. It's okay if, having had that session, you decide that you recommend that they do further work with you. And if they decide not to go ahead with you, that is okay. Because I always say that if your client is going to feel safe enough to say yes to you, they first need to feel safe enough to say no to you. And if they feel safe enough to say no, they will put down that resistance. It's like they're carrying one of those big Perspex riot shields. Like, part of their energy is going into defending themselves because they think there's a sales onslaught coming. And you just need to encourage them to put down that shield and connect with you like heart to heart, human to human for that conversation. You can also, a very effective thing to do, which is connected to that, is to set it up as a two-way process. And this can be very powerful. This can be a great reason why you're not sending them running to the back of the room when you make your offer. It can be because you want to be sure that they are a right fit for this work and that you're going to be a good fit for each other. So again, when you bring them into that sales conversation, you can make it clear that this is a two-way process. I might decide that it's not a good fit. You can also decide that it's not a good fit. Again, it creates that safety. Another way of creating safety is to always let them know that the offer is coming. This is often called get permission for your offer. So no surprises, because where things can start to switch and feel awkward, both for you and the client, is if the client didn't know the offer was coming. And then you come to that transition point where you're about to make the offer and you suddenly feel awkward because you're like, oh, I've been in this lovely supportive consultant mode and now I'm about to turn into sales mode. So your energy starts to wobble as well and they feel that. So always get permission and make it clear up front that there is going to be an offer coming. So at the beginning of the sales conversation, you let them know that if you feel that you can help them further beyond this call, you will be making a recommendation. And when you get to that point at step 6 where you're about to make your offer, I recommend that you reconfirm that you reflect back to the beginning and you say, thank you so much for sharing all of that with me. As I said at the beginning, if I feel I can help you, I would let you know more about it. And having spoken to you, I really feel that working with you, I could really help you make a big difference here, or I really feel that the way that I work would really help you to make this change, whatever your natural language is, so that at every point they know what's coming next. And finally, rein in your passion. Let your client feel heard. There's a reason why in my structure, you don't present your offer until step 6. Sometimes within literally minutes of that client starting to talk that you can help because you've worked with so many similar people before. But the problem is, if the client doesn't feel heard, that they don't feel you've listened, when you jump in too early with your offer, they just feel like, oh, well, you're clearly not interested in me, you just want to sell to me. So let them feel heard. take them through the process. Even if you don't feel you need to take them through that process, they need to go through that process in order for them to come to that internal yes feeling at the end. So some key takeaways from this session. The next step from speaking needs to be a step that your potential client actually wants to take and can take easily. As I said before, that next step might be sign up for my program today. As I said, this is how I grew my own business, by selling a group program from the stage at speaking events. They need to want to take it because you've presented it so clearly and you've demonstrated the value, and they need to be able to take it easily, as in, this is how you sign up. You know, I used to hand out booking forms, but whatever the system is that you need to tell them. That next step from speaking might be that they've just heard you outline your offer for your more high ticket or one-to-one program, and you're inviting them to a next step to find out if it's going to be a good fit or to apply. Or, and like I said, a lot of my clients use this strategy very successfully, the high value free session. It feels like there's less strings, there's less obligation, there's less resistance from the clients. You will have more clients booked in using that strategy. And so, you know, depending on your stage of business, different stages of business will follow a different strategy. But particularly if you're at a stage of business where you actively need to be enrolling more clients, or you want to be enrolling more clients, I always say that if you're in a stage of actively enrolling more clients, then the more conversations you get booked in, the more clients you're actually going to enroll. And when you follow a clear sales process, you feel comfortable, and so does the client. And when you feel comfortable, you're going to be so much more confident inviting them to take that next step with you, because you haven't got all this funny stuff around sales going on. And when you clearly present the value of your offer so that the client gets it, they can make their own decision. So again, you don't need to be learning and using complicated closing techniques. And when you create that safety, your client relaxes. They can really relax and open up into the conversation and make a decision that feels right for them. So I finally, just before going into the Q&A, I had a couple of resources to invite you to sign up for. One is the 7 Steps to Yes sales conversation, the structure that I referred to earlier on, so that you, as I said, it's a 21-minute video series, so that you can follow that structure and that process yourself, and you can start to implement that straight away. I've also got an authentic sales styles quiz, which your result from that quiz will let you know what makes you naturally good at sales, even if you can't see it at the moment, but also where you might have weaknesses and challenges when it comes to sales, and what you can start to do about that. And then from there, we can go into answering any questions. I did that by reading off the slides because I had no other notes other than my slides, so I've been like jumping between screens. Let me just pop those links in the chat for you.
We did already for you.
Oh, we did it already. Brenda did it already. Perfect. Thank you.
We did share the 7 Steps to Yes and the authentic sales styles quiz. Is that perfect? Perfect. Okay,
Yeah,
you did well again. Perfect. Beautiful. Did you want to add something else to round it off? I didn't want to interrupt your flow. I just want to let you know that we've shared it already.
Thank you. No, my next slide was to open up to take any questions.
Beautiful. Okay. So first of all, thank you so much for sharing all your wisdom, your advice again. You know, I think I think you showered us with so many golden nuggets. And again, it's heart-centered selling, heart-powered selling, right? So, and that's exactly how we want to sell, right? And thank you for ignoring the interruption, okay? And again, coming back into heart and leading it from there. Beautifully done. So I think we have a couple of really great questions. We start seeing some appreciation also from Michael. I know some of you might need to start sneaking out, but great to have you, Michael, for sure. Pleasure listening, Catherine. Great ideas. So we start seeing a lot of appreciation coming in, Catherine. That's great. And we get a couple of really good questions. One is from Sarah James Wright. I can see the sales pros being effective speaking to prospective clients for one-on-one work. Is there any difference if you're looking to sell more complex consultancy services to teams where you often have multiple gatekeepers before getting to a true decision maker? I'll let you start answering that one.
Yes. So if we take away the example, because I was tailoring this to the selling from speaking a little bit, but what I've taught applies in any situation. But yes, if you're selling to consultancy into corporates, the process is similar. Now, I didn't go into a huge amount of detail about the actual sales process in a way, but it's a very, very similar process. Oh, in that the difference would be that you would almost split that 7 steps to yes. So you would go as far as the step 5, where you are basically information gathering. And then what I would normally recommend that you do is that the step 6, where you present the solution, is either done at a separate time. So very often, so when we're selling to private individuals or small business owners, we can have the entire sales conversation in one sitting and often get the full payment from them there and then, and it is done in one conversation. When you're selling to companies, as you said, you might have to have more than one interaction. One of the things you actually want to be doing is, as early as possible in that process, identifying who is the actual decision maker and trying to get them involved in the conversations as early as possible. Now, that might not be possible in the first information gathering call, but you could certainly request that the decision maker be present in the second call where you go back in to present your solution. And sometimes, as you know, you end up in a situation where you can't get a decision there and then, and they want to see a proposal, and that's part of the process. And more than one person might look over that proposal. So what I would always do in that situation is I would never just send a proposal blind. I would have the conversation with somebody in the company, and I would basically outline to them pretty much what I'm going to put in the proposal and get their agreement to it. So you'll have a conversation and you'll pretty much end by saying, so if I put together a proposal and the proposal includes XYZ over X amount of time with this and this detail included, and the total budget is B, is this something that you think you would be likely to sign off on? And you want that sort of agreement in principle that you're in the right ballpark so that you're not just shooting darts in the dark. And then what I also wouldn't do is I wouldn't recommend sending a proposal unless you've already got the follow-up meeting booked in the diary. So one of the worst things that business owners can do is just to willy-nilly send these proposals off, and then you lose control of the process completely. You know, back in the old days, they would sit in their in tray like for months, and now it's even worse because they don't even have an in tray anymore. Like they're 10,000 emails down in the inbox, they're gone forever. So what you want to be doing is because it takes work and effort for you to put together a proposal, I would always make it almost a condition of sending the proposal that you have the call booked in with the key decision maker to follow up on the proposal afterwards. I don't know if that helps answer your question. That's just some responses that have come just based on that question there. Oh, Monique, you're muted again. What's happened?
I don't know why I get muted. So, being powerful speakers muting ourselves is the opposite direction we want to take, right? Anyhow, it's lovely to, thank you for the answer. And, again, we all been there, done that, made the mistakes, right? Also in the proposal sending, just make sure that you only send a proposal when everything that's written in the proposal has already been verbally agreed. So it's kind of almost only a summary of what's being sent out, right? And you shared a lot of other additional great hints. There's another great question from Danya about price sensitivity. She's saying, what about when they say at the end, it's a very high price for me, I need to think about it? How do you do with that?
Yeah, so I would the one thing that I always teach when it comes to either I need to think about it or it's too expensive. And interestingly, you've got 2 of them in there. It's a high price and I need to think about it. So you've got 2 together. is that I always say, never let that be the end of the conversation. Never just say, oh, okay, I totally understand, get back to me, or I totally understand. When will you have decided? Always ask at least one more question to help to explore what's really going on there. So because what you want to be identifying here is the answer they're giving you their true answer, or is it their polite way of saying no and getting rid of you? And it's impossible to tell without asking one more question. So if you ask one more question and you ask, if it wasn't for the price, would you be going ahead? The answer to that question will tell you everything, because they will either say, oh, well, I don't know. Even if the price was less, I don't know. My children, I'm going on holiday next week and my mother's moving into a home and the dog's having kittens and, there's all these other reasons and they fluster and they're basically just trying to get off the call. But if they are really wanting to do it and you say, if it wasn't for the price, would you be going ahead? They will go, oh my gosh, yes, I really, really want to do this. It's just more than I expected. Or I'm just not sure that we can afford that at the moment from our family budget, or whatever. The client is being open with you, and this allows you to take that conversation into that next step, wherever it will go. And this might be because if the client is saying, yes, I really want to do it, it's just the price feels high and they are willing to go with you into the next phase of conversation. This is where you can have a conversation about, they're saying it's a very high price. I might ask a curiosity question there. I might ask, what were you expecting it to be? Because I'm interested to have that sense, and I might have just quoted £4,000 and they say, well, I was expecting it to be about £400. Maybe that's not going to meet in the middle, but if it's more like, oh, I've just never invested this sort of amount of money in this type of thing before. I feel nervous, and they would be open to having a conversation with you about whether it's about whether they're afraid of making that investment in case it's a bad decision, whether it's about reprioritizing their spending, whether it's about whether they can access the funds. And I understand that when I say those things, it might sound like, oh, this is sounding a bit manipulative now, but actually it isn't, because what you have is you're meeting in partnership. And I've had many, many of these conversations over my career, particularly this business where I'm selling my own services. And the conversation will go. So, for example, I don't offer this particular package anymore, but I used to offer my one-to-one services for £6,000 for 6 months. So for a lot of my clients, especially if they were fairly early in business or business wasn't going very well, that felt like a big investment. But if they expressed that they couldn't afford it, and I asked them, if it wasn't for the money, would you be going ahead? And then they expressed to me just how much they want to do it and how much they can see that they need it and what a big difference they can tell it will make. The conversation about how they pay for it becomes a conversation in partnership. It's not about forcing, it's not about manipulating, it's having an open conversation. And very often the client will come out of freeze, because what's happened is they've gone into freeze at the idea of that investment, that talking it through, they come out of freeze and they start to become more resourceful. And they start to be able to see ways that they could redirect finances or access other finances that they weren't thinking about, or sometimes borrow, whatever it is that they need to do. But for us as the business owner in a sales conversation, the important thing is to not be afraid to have those conversations. Like I said earlier on, there is nothing that I can teach you that will make somebody say yes to buying from you if they don't want to do it. And that's not the style of sales that I'm all about. But if you have these open conversations, you'd be amazed how often, well, it's a very high price. Once you explore that a little bit, they might end up going, well, it is a high price. It's more than I expected. It's more than I paid for my first car, but I can see how valuable this is. And I have got that money over there that we've been saving for a new kitchen, but this feels more important than the kitchen. Hey, let's do it. But you, the business owner, have to hold the space for that conversation. If you back out of it, your client's not going to have it with you.
Thank
Oh.
you very much.
It's a really smart, brilliant, powerful way to find out, is it actually an objection, something they really wanted, they just feel like there's something in the way to really jump over, or is it an excuse? So really powerful. Okay, and what I, just as an additional hint, what I always do is, before I talk about pricing, before I talk about the investment, before I talk about the amount, I already get them to make a commitment even upfront. Okay, in a way, by saying like, assuming it was affordable, assuming you had the money, assuming it was a really powerful investment for you, would you go about it? And if they say yes, you already have it before you even talk about the numbers, and that's another powerful way of doing it. But I loved your approach very much. Wrote down the question, a powerful question, Catherine. Great. I think, yes, that's pretty much the last question I've seen. I've seen a lot of appreciation here, Catherine, for your sharing. Okay. I love also what Raphael said, very smart and subtle approach, start building trust, right? So again, it's beautiful, beautiful. It's really heart-centered selling. So I know that if any one of you came into the call still feeling a little bit icky, making offers, stepping up to really confidently, authentically make your offer, get people into a conversation and get them to say yes. That's the way. And you can do it from stage, you can do it in conversations. And that is how, as you, Catherine, you beautifully are saying, you're building partnership. And that's what you do anyhow with every client, you're building partnership. Okay,
Yeah.
unless it's a fully automated course, and even then, it's partnership.
And traditional sales teaches us that it's not partnership. Traditional sales teaches us that we have to enforce our desires and our agenda on the other person. And it's not about partnership. And this style of sales is about partnership. And that's why it's so much more effective. So yeah, really good insight.
Beautiful. Okay, Raphael, you raised your hand. Is there something you want to still ask, say, share?
Yeah, I have a question. So sorry, I'm not in front of my desk. I couldn't write easily. The question is the following: when you're dealing with a company where you have somebody in front of you who is very positive about what you're offering, but who is not alone to decide, because, for instance, that person has to get the support of HR, let's say people who are in charge of learning and development. And there's not one decision maker. It's a group of people, and you can never access these people. Do you have any tip on how to overcome that postponement where they say, well, we have to talk to HR learning development and stuff, and we will get back to you. And in fact, their relationship with the HR people is not that good, and they're not that capable of convincing anybody. So you end up in some kind of no man's land where you don't have anybody to talk to. So I'm just asking if by any chance you have a miracle answer to this question.
I don't have a miracle answer. And I want to acknowledge that it's a genuinely really difficult situation. And it does happen when you're selling to companies. And I don't have a miracle answer, but I can just share some thoughts. That's probably the best that I can do. The first thing is that when you've got one individual who's really bought into you in a company, that you make them like your ally, almost like a co-conspirator. You conspire together to try and make this happen, because you've got one person within the company who loves what you're offering, who really wants to do it, and they almost need to become your ambassador internally. And yes, if they've got to convince 8 different people and 2 of them are HR, and HR don't care because they've got their preferred company, it can be a bit of a losing battle. But if this person is willing to like collaborate with you to get you into the organization, then there are things that you might be able to do to support them. So for example, you know how to have the effective sales conversation, and you have convinced this individual. This individual is now going off to talk to other individuals. They've probably had no sales training whatsoever. They don't know how to present it effectively. And they're just going, it just sounds like, well, I spoke to this guy, Raphael, and he's amazing, and I think we should get him in. And no one's going to be convinced by that. So you can help to sort of coach your ally within the business and on how to present. Because if they really want to bring you in and they're really bought in, they may well be open to you helping them to present it in an effective way. The other thing that you can do is when you put together your proposal is you've got to resell everything in the proposal. Like you can't, it's another route. You can either sort of coach the person to present you well, or you can do it yourself by writing it in the proposal. And don't assume anything. If you've had a conversation where you've discovered these are the challenges, these are the outcomes we want, this is the solution that I'm proposing, don't assume that your ally is going to pass all of that on. It's your job to pass all of that on. And ultimately, the other conversation to have with that ally is, do they have any decision-making authority themselves at all? Could they bring you in to do something? So again, if they're an ally, you could be saying to them, do you have access to sign this off at £40,000, even, without needing to go to the others? And your ally might go, no, I don't have that in my budget. But they might have a lower amount, and you might be able to break the work down into stages. So you could break it down into, well, this is stage 1. We'll come in and we'll do a couple of workshops, for example. And then stage 2 is where we will coach your senior team. Sorry, I'm using coaching examples. I've no idea what you actually offer, Raphael. And then step 3 is blah, blah, blah. Now, stage 1, this is going to be X amount. These first couple of workshops, that's going to be 5,000. Would you have authority to sign that off? And they might have authority to be able to bring you in to start the work and then go and get the approval from further up, which will be easier to do when they can say, well, Raphael has already been in and done 2 workshops, and this is the feedback we've had. Do you see, like, I'm not suggesting none of these are magic solutions at all. They're just throwing some ideas around.
Right.
Well, thank you very much. Very, very helpful. The real problem I expose is that the ambassador that we're talking about, the ally, as you call that person, very often doesn't have the courage to go and present something because they're afraid to make waves, and they're afraid that their reputation, whatever, could be affected. So I know there is no recipe to instill courage in people, because those people usually don't have it. But
And then my question for you would be, have you chosen the right ally internally? Because if you're having conversations with somebody who's got no decision-making authority and no courage to go and represent you to the decision makers, are you just wasting your time on the wrong person, and perhaps you should find a different contact within the organization?
most likely the problem is, how can I find the other contact? And even if I ask this person who could be interested, etc., they would be afraid to introduce me to that person, because they will be afraid that I have a bad opinion of them, because they don't have the power to decide anything, and so on. So it's the problem is that we never have transparency with what's happening on the other side of the fence. And that lack of transparency is a huge handicap to navigate the system. So there's one entry point. There's the person who's contacted me. Then I see I'm in a dead end, because that person really doesn't have much power.
Yeah.
But that's life.
So I can also say a few things about this, because it was very, it was a very predominant challenge in the very first business that I've built. Okay, we were selling actually to executive leaders of sometimes very big companies, like a framework and a tool that would measure return on investment for trainings. Okay. So originally our thought was we sell that to HR people, because they must have an interest to prove to top management that their trainings make a difference, right? Knowing that there's possibly more, it's not possibly, last number many years ago was €1 billion a year basic training budget in Europe, right? So it's a lot of money, right? So we started talking to HR, but we realized very quickly that often HR people were running into the dilemma that you just spoke about. Right, Raphael? They try to sell it internally and they don't get it much further. So what we actually found out is it's not actually necessarily the best opportunity to sell our concepts to the HR people, but rather to the business leaders. So instead of getting into conversation with HR people, we got in touch with the executive leaders directly. And then they brought us in, went to the HR people and said to the HR people, we want this, we want you to work with them. You see what I mean? There was a much easier way in for us, for sure. On your side, of course, it's a question early on, very early on, like Catherine is saying, let's not waste our time trying to sell to people that have no courage, no budget, no authority, don't even want to go any further. So I think on the very first conversation, instead of, besides identifying is your solution of interest to their organization or to them personally, I always ask the question as well, like, what's your budget and what's your decision process? What does your decision process look like? Who is involved in it? Okay, and then from the beginning, we ask the questions like, good, when that is a person, so you in general you have an interest, great. Let's bring the people that are involved in a decision authority process, let's bring them into the conversation right away. Okay. If they were not able to do, you can still do what Catherine is saying. Either, I loved what you said, that was genius, Catherine, where you break it into chunks. You can start getting your foot into the door in a smaller way with a smaller budget that they are willing to sign off on. If that's not possible, again, what you could do is you could also, as Catherine is saying, look for a different ally. Okay, see if through your networking, not maybe through that person if they're not willing to connect you further, but can you build other connections through other people to get a foot into this organization? The only thing I would say in this case is always make sure that you honor the original contact. Keep them involved, keep them informed, right? Say, hey, I'm also connected with this and this person, and I'd like to have a conversation with that. Would that be okay with you, right? Or would you want to be involved in that conversation? Okay, so honor the ownership of that initial contact. But I always feel that it's a much easier sell to business leaders with a budget than to HR that often don't have that budget authority, and it takes forever. Most likely, it's never going to happen at all to get them into the door or get them to connect us with someone else in the organization. Powerful question. I know that this is possibly relevant to a lot of you here. Yes, can I see a show of hands? Everyone else, you find it valuable? You all try to sell into organizations? Powerful question, Raphael. Thanks for bringing it.
Thank you.
Okay, great, Catherine, amazing, and everyone else. Thank you for all your questions. We've gone a little bit over today, but that is because all of you are so engaging questions, and Catherine shared so brilliantly, and we just don't want it to stop. But Catherine, would you like to give a final powerful, uplifting, inspiring message? And I say, I'm gonna bring it to the grand finale, and then, yeah, we round it off today. But Catherine, I want to give you the word first.
Actually, Monique, I want to acknowledge you for how you handled what happened earlier on. For years and years, I've done these sessions and I've never experienced anything like that. And you were so unflustered and professional and just well done.
Thank you. It looks like just all of us are a rockstar team, and we get a lot of backing from everyone here. So, Monique is having her hearts flying around right now already. My name, Sister Monique, right? And everyone here, I see big smiles on your faces. You had our back. I really appreciate that. Okay. Of course, this is our Heart Part Speaking community call. Catherine, we will investigate. Okay. We will make sure this doesn't happen again. We'll do everything we can do. We know we live in an unsecure time, okay, and we've always lived there, but things become more heart-centered and more nasty at the same time, unfortunately, okay? However, it's up to us to hold the space professionally, and you did, and thank you for continuing in this way, and thank you, Danya, for making the suggestion. We co-created a solution together, which is really, really powerful. Appreciate that very much. So thank you, Catherine, for holding the space on that, and thank you all for being on our side and holding the space, going through it, and not letting us distract from why we are here in the first place. Thank you. And I appreciate your appreciation as well. Thank you. So do you want to run it off with an inspiring message of everyone here?
I just think, obviously I don't know each person individually, but I do know that a lot of the business owners that I come across, they have a lot of stuff around sales. They have thinking and feeling about sales and beliefs about sales that live in their body. And it can really affect your business because it affects your confidence to invite people to the next step. It affects your confidence to ask those deeper, courageous questions in the sales conversation. And I just want you to know that I absolutely love sales, and I don't do anything at any point in any of my sales process, and I never have, that feels out of integrity or not in alignment with my values. And I think I just want to say that every single one of you can fall in love with sales, no matter how you might be feeling about it today. And that when you do fall in love with sales, it changes so much about your business.
Let's fall in love with sales even more than we ever did. Okay. Thank you for sharing all your golden nuggets today, for your encouragement, Catherine, for your great suggestions, your great answers to amazing questions. Thank you for being on with us today. I'd like to thank Brenda and our team for holding the space and helping us making all these amazing sessions possible. Thank you, thank you, thank you for everyone that's been here with us today. I know a few people needed to sneak out already, but everyone that's here with us still. Christiane, Danya, Monique, Rafael, Simona, Ty, and everyone else that has been with us earlier. Thank you for being courageous enough to use the power of your voice to bring your greatest gifts, your message, your wisdom, your experience to your audiences, to your clients. Okay. And I'm always still saying that speaking from my perspective is still the best, most powerful marketing tool we could ever have to not only build mind to mind, but heart to heart connections immediately with the right people in the right audience. And again, let's make sure that when you step off stage, okay, you can help them further go through the transformation you want to help them with. And let's make sure that you harvest also for your business. And again, being confident in selling is the bridge to build. So thank you, Catherine, for your encouragement. Thank you all for being here with us today. Go out there. If you're not in love with selling yet, okay, watch this recording again. We're going to share that in our Hall of Fame as of tomorrow, okay? And, everyone else that's already in love with selling, just pick up some of these golden nuggets today, turn them into action, and go out there and rock it, because our business grows and we are confident on selling, because, that's what brings us clients, that builds the connection, that makes all the difference. So thank you, thank you, thank you all. And we'll be back with another call soon. So keep an eye out. We'll also send you emails going up. Okay. And thank you all for being here. Thank you, Catherine, again, one more time. And thanks to my team and everyone for making this again such a beautiful, smooth get together in a heart-powered, heart-centered way, no matter what happens. Okay. Thank you all. See you soon.
Thank you. Bye bye.